I reviewed those minutes and I move for approval.
Motion, do I have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Carries. Next on the agenda, annexation request for outside city sewage, sewer, Rockville Health and Public Safety Building.
You want me to take that, Chairman? Okay, yes, all right. Thank you, Chairman. We have some good news. The mayor and city manager Craig Tyndall has come to an agreement about the annexation. You remember the public safety building is going to, at the Rockville site, is going to tie to city sewer. But so part of the stipulation was that we were supposed to ask for annexation to be considered an outside the city customer, and this body rejected that annexation request. So the city was kind of stubborn about that and went back and forth, and but the mayor was able to come to an understanding with city manager Tyndall that the property is already served by city sewer. We're not subdividing the property as a separate lot, so we won't have to go ask for annexation. However, we still have three things that we need to do. One is to go through the Murfreesboro Planning Commission for their review and approval of the site plan. It will have to meet their landscaping, parking, other requirements like that. That's part of their city ordinance that they require. Anybody that's hooking up to their sewer has to meet those requirements. The second thing is that we have to submit plans to their building codes department for their review and approval, and they will inspect as well. And the third thing is that we have to sign the outside the city customer agreement. And on your iPad, under the annexation file, there is a outside the city customer agreement where they have struck through the verbiage about annexation. So if y'all are good with that, I guess you've already approved it. I don't think we need to approve it again, do we? I believe.
No, sir.
Okay. No, sir. So it's more of just an update that the mayor was able to work that out, and we don't have to ask for annexation.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd still like to go back and talk, because after I talked to Mr. Tyndall, got the letter back, but then it said we had to jump through these hoops, which I would like to go back and talk with them. We have our own planning commission. We have our own codes department. And to us to jump through those hoops on something that's not inside the city, why we have to jump through their hoops when we have to jump through our own hoops? Just makes sense to me. I mean, we're outside the city. All we're doing is tapping into an existing sewer line that's been there in some existence for some time at Rockville School. But for us to go through the process as if we're in the city, you know, and pay a fee, I'm not sure. But I'd like to have that discussion.
Didn't we go through that with the city when we built that school out there?
I think so.
Like, I think we went through that and had to pay a fee or had to pay monies or whatever.
Yeah, you know, and that was when we bought that property from Tommy Sanford's mother-in-law, I believe, for $3,500 an acre years ago, back in the early 90s. But I'd like to sit down with city fathers and talk about government to government. I mean, we're all county employees. Unless it's just something that they have in their ordinance, but why should we have to pay a fee when, you know, we don't charge them a fee? I don't know. But it just seems like government ought to have all governments should have an opportunity not to, you know, we can fill out the forms or go, I don't know. It just seems odd to me.
If we were doing it in the county, do we pay fees to our own county department? I've never.
No, sir. I talked to the building codes director, Tanya Bell, and she said no, she would not charge us for our own building. They will inspect, though, so we'll have city inspectors and county inspectors inspecting the building, so, if they require it.
That's what I thought was odd, because we'll have our own building inspectors and our codes, and it's in the county, not in the city, but now we got to jump through their hoops just for tying into a sewer line. I'd just like to have that discussion, let them explain to me why they want us to do that, other than, I don't know. But I will. I'll get back.
And if I might add, we will cross this bridge again with the Walter Hill and the Christiana public health and safety buildings there, because they're also on city sewer.
I could see it if it were a separate parcel.
Yes, sir.
Outside the city, but we're tying on to their water line that was outside the city, kind of like Christiana, but all three that you just mentioned are on our
Already
existing
served by sewer.
property.
Yes, sir.
We're building these on our property, on schools that have been there for a long period of time. So, anyway, that was just an FYI, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Hey, Commissioner?
you mentioned we'll have the county and the city inspection.
Yes, sir.
I'm reading here, though, that the city, they're just going to inspect the sewer, right? It says it's a charge of $50 for inspection for newly installed sewer.
Yes, but
they're not going to inspect the building, are they?
Well, I did talk to Robert Holtz, the city building director, and he said that they would review the plans and also inspect the building as well, so.
So, what, yeah, that's what is strange to me, because what if our codes are different than their codes? Do we have to build to their codes? We are going to sprinkler it, but if our landscaping code's different than our landscaping code, and we have an argument, who settles that?
I got a question. When we built Rockville School, did they inspect the school?
I don't know that answer.
I don't know, but I don't believe that they did on the new Plainview, and that was
I don't think they have, no, sir.
That was
No,
my
sir.
argument with Mr. Tyndall, is that you didn't request us to annex Christiana, or Plainview, and we're tying onto that sewer. So anyway, we'll work that out.
Any more discussion on the annexation update? If not, you'll probably update us next
Yes, sir.
meeting on that. Next on the agenda, Station 57 Fire Hall discussion. I'm going to turn that over to Commissioner Buchanan.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for putting that up there. Okay, the mayor and Commissioner Reed, we all met some constituents out on this particular property. It's our Station 57 is located off of Elam Road, and it needs a few minor repairs. I got pictures. If y'all want to see some of the repairs, we can go this way. Some of the things that I saw that needed to be done, the constituents, they're wanting to add on and do all sorts of things. But I did speak with Chief Farley, and I did speak with Commissioner Reed about some of the small repairs that needed. Most of it is painting and a few cosmetic. Yeah, cosmetic things. But other than that, I'm bringing it to you guys to see if we can do something to it to, improve it a little bit. Give it a little facelift out there. And the pictures are going around of some of the things that I saw.
Sure. And they are on the quarterly, Commissioner, they're on the quarterly bug inspection application. So July, probably sometime in the next 2 weeks, they'll get another thorough spraying. Yeah, for
Nothing about the inside. The inside looked pretty good to me.
Sure.
It's just the outside, a few things, a couple of trees.
Chairman McAdoo, I do have a copy of a 2013 addition that was made to the fire hall back then, and showing the site and the various layouts of their things on the property. So if we need that for reference for anything that we've got
Yes, sir.
a resource.
Well, I think as we all told her that, and the other citizens out there, that they're catching us 2.5 weeks before our budget has already been set and it's working its way through, so we'll be happy to take it up in next year's budget and see what we can do cosmetically to brighten it up or, make it better. Because it's not I was thinking when I first got there that it was a manned station, and it's not.
Hey, we own the property or
We do.
own the property, own the building?
Yes, sir.
I myself personally think that we should work with them because they're volunteers and that's what helped this county.
Yes, sir.
Proud of this.
Yeah, and the
Volunteers.
people out there are very proud of that area, and all their neighbors are close, and they want to take more pride in this station out there.
Chairman? Is this building, is it metal or wood or?
Well, the main building has got some siding on it that's beginning to mold at the bottom of it, and I think that can be either repaired, replaced, or painted. We can cosmetically fix that up. The other building is metal. Commissioner Steve, do y'all remember? Is it metal with siding on the side of the metal? I think it's a metal building. Okay.
The main.
I was just thinking, I know we're working on the next budget and everything, even also to save money, it may be something we can take inmates out there to do.
We could do that. I think we've had them out there before. It's just, there's a pine tree, the limb hanging on the roof. We can get out there and cut that up and clean out the HVAC return. It's got pine needles in it and stuff, so we'll work on that.
Any more discussion on it, Station 57?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm just curious, how would this property and the people there and so forth be affected by the public safety buildings we're building? Is that something that would affect this operation?
The closest one that we're going to build would be, it'd be in between Christiana and Kittrell. I'm not, Commissioner, do you know the distance between this location and Christiana School and Kittrell School?
Ask Commissioner Reeves in the back, he's probably know. Commissioner Reeves, can you help us out with that?
I mean, would it be, is this operation be moving into the new public safety building, I guess is what my question.
No.
Okay.
No.
This building, and I think it was 2013 that it caught on fire and burnt. Just originally, then it was rebuilt by Mayor Burgess. And at that time, bathrooms and showers and a kitchen was placed in it. So it has been refurbished back in that time. What you've got happening to that building right now, on the west side, gutters were not placed on it. And you use that siding, which is a wood type siding, and that's where the water come off and it hit the bottom of it, which has caused it to decay down there and caused the paint to come off. You have pine trees on the back that if anybody's been raised around a pine, you know what those needles will do and how it's messed up, that sort of thing. So you got paint peeling off. It needs to be painted. We need some upkeep and things of that type. The metal building was built to house that tanker, and it's one of the newer tankers that's stored out there. This is a fire station that is one of our ISO protectors, I guess is what you would call it. It protects the fire rating in that area. It has volunteers that service those trucks when they are called out. They're not on site. However, there is a captain that does stay on site, or lieutenant stays on site at times. So there's somebody there sometimes. But that area will be served by those stations. They already are being served by Christiana right now. Kittrell will also be one that will back them up, but when we get those stations in, they will be servicing them out that way. They're not that far of a distance, because if you'll look just to the side of that, you can see I-24. That gives you some idea where this station is. It's just
You go
right
across the
there off of Joe B.
interstate
Jackson.
and come out at County Farm Road.
Yeah. So they will be serviced by those new stations when they come out there, so they'll be getting that. But it's primarily a backup station, just like we have them all over the county in there. But it's just something that just needs some tender loving care, I guess is what you would say, to help it out there. The inside is I've been in a lot of these different stations like this, and that one right there I was impressed with. It has a full kitchen in it, like I said. It's a place that I could hang out in, I guess you would say. And,
You bounced up and down on that bed, says better than one you had at home.
yeah, well, they did. They asked us to sit down on the bed and see what we thought about that bed, and I said, "Boy, I could take a nap right there. It's more comfortable than one I've got." But they have good equipment in there. There is an engine in there, there's brush truck in there, and then that tanker is there. And that tanker is very important to that area out there because of the water that it can provide real quick. So with the backup from our full-time stations nearby and that station there, as well as Kittrell and Christiana, it's an important part. It's part of the puzzle. It's just not the main part whenever a fire occurs. It'll still be there. It has to be there for our ISO.
So we'll start working, try to get some estimates on painting and some other things to fix it up in next year's budget, which starts next week.
Yeah. Thank you, Commissioner Reeves. Any other discussion on Station 57?
Chairman McAdoo, just on the screen, sorry, I'm a map nerd, but you can see at the southeast corner of the city limits, the gray is number 9. That's where that fire hall is, and you can see in reference to where the proposed Christiana station will be behind the Christiana school. And I'm sorry, my cursor does not show up on this screen for some reason, but on the southeast corner of 9 heading out on 24 is the Elam Road fire hall. If my cursor would work, I'd show you, but it doesn't on this map for some reason. So it's kind of on that outer ring, as Commissioner talking about.
Okay, just keep us updated on that, Station 57. Hopefully after we budget
Yes, sir.
work done on that building. Next on the agenda, property inventory update. Deputy Director.
Pembroke, yes.
We figured that these lot 46, 45, 44, 47 might be interested in this, making their backyards bigger, whether they wanted to have a garden or just a wooded area, whatever. There's some outcroppings of rocks here. It's really landlocked, you know, at this location, so it would really benefit either this long lot, I'd say to the north of this property, which is off of Stewart's Creek Road. I think that's the Boland property, and with no response there, or any of these property owners here in this subdivision off Flamingo Drive. So I'm at y'all's mercy. We'll do whatever you want us to do, but we were trying to get our feet wet into these first few to see what's going on. We haven't had a response back from the church on that piece of property. Another piece of property that was backing up to the rock quarry, we've had interest on it, but it may fall back to the family that donated it, so it's in the attorney's office. They're working with that. So we're getting a couple of them worked out, but then again, we're sitting here with these in the file that's nothing's happened. So I'm here for you however you want to work with it. I just throw those suggestions out that may offer them up, and then again, we may have an auction here at the courthouse steps and nobody show. So there we go. But we're just, we wouldn't be spending a lot of money. We would be putting a sign on each piece of property, giving a date and a time, you know, of course, of when the auction would be if you want to go that route. And then a location, whether you want us to sell it there on site at that location and go to each location, or just offer them up here at the courthouse steps. Might be a little more folks to appear to something like that. Might get some interest that way when we advertise it in the paper and actually signage.
Mr. Dodd?
How do you, continue that train of thought, how do you advertise it? How do you,
Well,
and who does it? Are you doing it as a donation to the county? Are you doing it as an auctioneer, as a
Sure, I'd be glad
donation?
to, because it's not costing the county anything. I'll be on the time clock, you know, like I did the bank building.
And,
So,
and then therefore, how would you broadcast it, or how could we pay for advertising, or what are your thoughts?
like we did there, we did the paper, and we can do WGNS. We can do our social media stuff that we did, you know,
website.
through our department itself, and in signage, which is,
That's probably about 1,000 people in a 300,000 resident county. Is there a more sophisticated way that we could, I don't know how auctions get out there, to tell you the truth, but if that's all there is to it, we're not going to get much interest. Being the devil's advocate.
well, at the bank building, we had, what, about 60 or 70 people there, but that's a different.
It was so unique, yeah.
Different,
And
unique deal
that's
there.
You did it the same way, GNS, local paper.
We didn't do
Social media?
WGNS. We just did the paper, and then our website, and then the signs. So we did all the social media stuff in-house, where it didn't cost anything, didn't cost the taxpayer anything. We're already, you know, county employees on the clock, so we did it that way. If we did Auction Zip, I mean, a lot of people look at Auction Zip. I do it in the real estate business in auctions, and it's like $40.
Okay, there you go. You did some,
Yes,
excellent.
yes.
And it's worth $40 to us. I mean,
Oh, yeah, yeah. WGNS would be about $350 to you to do, you know, 2 weeks of radio ads. About the same in the paper for, you know, D&J. So you're looking $700 there, $750, I guess, everything out of pocket dollars. But we could put all these on there to auction at the same time. It's just when you finish one piece of property, you go to the next one, go to the next one, go to the next one. So
So you'll do them all in one day?
yes. Well, it benefits you in your cost that way. That way you wouldn't be doing each cost, you know, 4 or 5 times, and you've got a crowd collection there of, folks, and it might be just these people, then that area wants that, but then might have an investor like, well, I'm going to get this for a good deal. I don't know what I'll do with it, but I'll do something, sell it back to those people or market it, so. Just 3. Well, the county attorney has 2. The one over by the rock quarry, working through that with the family, see where that one ends up, and then the one over on Bragg Avenue, I think it's called, Bragg.
That's the one with the house over.
Yeah, that's the one with the house that we talked about, so that's working through that process. So these are just...
We have the Miller Street, the one by the church.
Yes.
We have the West Thompson Lane. Thurston is the one that's got the reversionary clause. The Midland Fosterville Road and the East Trimble. So I was thinking there was 5 of them, but or Stewart's Creek Road.
Right. Stewart's Creek Road, 3.2 acres. Midland Fosterville is the .23. That's the long little slither.
Skinny one, yeah.
I thought we had a buyer for that, and they're just nowhere to be found now. And then 4.0 acres over on East Trimble.
Mr. Hughes, thank you, Chairman. How long is that tract you have up there now?
It is, goodness, it's 16 feet wide. It's probably about, I can measure it, let me go back to that.
Could you shoot a bear at 50 cal on it?
Any other discussion from the committee?
Yeah, I think you could. You might have to watch where your backstop is.
It's 16
Commissioner Johnson?
and 2/3 feet wide by 600 foot long.
Okay.
Mr. Johnson?
I think they've had adequate notice all the way around, and my recommendation be that we would go ahead and just follow through the process and put them up for auction and get rid of them. I mean, a little is better than nothing at all.
I agree with you, Commissioner. Commissioner Buchanan, if that church, comes and bids $100, I think we'll get more back in property taxes if they just bid $100 or $5.
Well, I tell you what, the way property is selling in Rutherford County.
Maybe somebody from California buy it.
Yeah.
Well, I would suggest that Chairman McAdoo give them a call.
I'll give them a call. But anyway, I think we should proceed on with this auction. And that not only to get rid of the property, get it back on the tax roll, but to let the citizens know in Rutherford County that we are selling all our excess properties. And so they'll believe us if we just start doing it. So I think we should proceed on with the auction.
Just one more question. You said one of the properties was landlocked?
Yes.
A couple of them are.
Yeah.
Sorry.
A couple of them are.
Okay,
East
what does that
Trimble and
mean?
Stewart's Creek.
They have access
no
to-
access to the property, so they would need to go through the court system somehow to get an easement in through somebody else's property to that property.
Did you make the motion?
I'll move that we submit these 3 lots for auction.
Okay.
Motion here, second.
I'll second it.
Commissioner Johnson, second. Any more discussion?
Mr. Chair, and also, if we're lucky, maybe, I don't know if you've heard anything from the surrounding landowners, they may be interested in, they may come to the auction.
That's true.
In the
We
perfect
sent
world,
certified, we sent letters out, and we didn't get any responses. So then we sent certified letters out, and we got all the receipts of certification back that they did receive the letter. So, but we didn't get any offers, phone calls, or anything, but this one. And we'll work it before we put it at auction. So if we can work out something there before we can go, if this is what you want to do, then... Yes, yes, we'll offer it and throw it out there. So, one question I would ask about the auction then process, would this be a sale, whatever it brings at the auction then, or would you want to bring this back before property management and approve these numbers for these pieces of property to sell?
I say sell.
I'd say,
I say sell and bring us the amount you sold it for back.
Would we put a
Because we would put that in our
minimum bid
terms.
on it, or just whatever happens, happens?
Well, since it's not being desired very well, and we've not covered it with phone calls, you know, highest bid gets you back on the tax roll. So, but I'm here at y'all's disposal. If you want me to bring them back for approval, or
Nah, sell them.
I'll do whatever you want me to do. I just need to put it in the terms of the auction when we offer them, so. And if they're absolute brings more buyers, but that means they absolutely sell and we write a contract too, so. I want you to understand that. If we're selling with reserve, then we're selling with a reserve amount, whatever that amount may be, but if you're selling absolute, then we can advertise it as absolute, and we're absolutely writing a contract on the property.
Well, I'll amend my motion to put that absolute auction.
About a second, you accept that? So do everybody understand the motion? Everybody understand the motion? Call the roll.
Commissioner Cook? Yes. Commissioner Gammon?
yes.
Commissioner Dodd?
Yes.
Commissioner Johnson?
Yes.
Commissioner Buchanan?
Yes.
Commissioner Gooch?
Yes.
Chairman McAdoo?
Okay.
All right.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, Goldstein Building update. And while Ben is coming up here, we all know that Ben lost his mother, and I'm sorry to hear that. If you knew his mother, you knew that she was a good lady, very good lady, and will be missed in this community. I thought the world of her and her husband. I think I knew more about him just like Ben, but she was definitely a very good lady.
Absolutely.
Ben.
Thank you, Chairman McAdoo.
Haynager.
Talking about Goldstein.
Goldstein's.
Okay, yeah, good evening. We're working with Bob Warren, and he sent us a contract, and Nick, the county attorney's got the contract. Bob said that he would have us a report back prior to the July property management meeting. Is there a July property management?
Yes, sir, I believe so.
It's at the end of July.
Okay.
Yes.
He'll have us a report, but he was going to have it back to us the first week in July. And
July the 22nd.
okay, I'll have it back before then. So.
Right. Okay, any questions on the Goldstein building? If not, let's proceed on with the Lang Ag update.
Okay, the Lane Ag, we're waiting on the insurance adjuster to finalize the estimate, and the rebuild will follow, that could be as early as next week. All the demo's done, but he hasn't started building back pending on the adjuster's estimate.
Any question on the Lang Ag? All right, we got the archives.
Chairman McAdoo,
Hey, Mike.
if you don't mind, I wanted to update you on, or preview, I guess, on a upcoming request for the Lane Agri Park, if that's okay.
That's fine.
We had a city developer that purchased a large lot on Gresham Lane that was part of the Glendale subdivision, an old county subdivision that was developed in the 80s, I think 85. And he is wanting to convert the stormwater management area, retention, detention pond, and kind of move it and add 6 new lots on city sewer. So the request that he needs to make that happen, he's changing the dimensions of this stormwater management pond, so he's going to have to send more water towards the, wrong one. That he's going to have to send more water to the Lane Agri Park pond to make that work. So they've gone before the Conservation Board last Thursday. The Conservation Board wants more information on how it will impact their pond. Their pond was created when the second phase of Lane Agri Park was built, the buildings in the back you see at the top of the screen, and it drains to a sinkhole up here. It doesn't go to a creek, river, or stream, so they're kind of limited on how much water they can accept. So the proposal is to, and I'll show you a little bit. And this is, like I said, this is just a preview. If it passes the Conservation Board, y'all will be seeing it next. So I'm giving you a little preview on that. My map will catch up. So this area right here, and I'll turn off the city limits because it kind of obscures. That has been annexed into the city. This area here, and this is the Glendale subdivision around it, if you can see my cursor. So what he's wanting to propose to do is move this pond back here, but go from a retention pond, which holds water all the time, to a detention pond where it constantly has water pouring out of it after a storm event. So then they will have to pipe down Gresham Lane and dump it into the Lane Agri Park pond. So there is, if I can find it, there is a master plan, and I've got it up on the screen, that was generated showing all kinds of other improvements, you know, an amphitheater, playgrounds, a water park, some parking areas, recreation fields, vineyards, gardens, and whatnot. So these are things that they're wanting to do, but they're going to be receiving more water more often at this pond. So when I was at the Conservation Board, I said, well, I would want to know how it's going to impact my pond if I'm going to be getting this water more often. So the developer's engineer is going to study the pond and see how it's going to impact this pond. So just as a preview, they'll have to build a long stretch of storm pipe down Gresham Lane and then dump it into this pond if that's what this body and the Conservation Board agrees to.
Chairman?
Commissioner?
I have a comment on that. I'm just worried about that area. I remember going out to the Lane Ag and just the parking lot right there just being flooded. And then they've got a lot of flooding problems out in that area. I think this thing needs to be really looked at close. I mean, you say this is for developers want to add 6 more houses?
Yes, sir. Right. He's going to add 6 new houses on Gresham Lane on that big, it looks like a field now that fills up with water during heavy rain events. And I can kind of show you how it looked in the 2010 flood.
I don't like it personally. That's me.
Right, well, I'm just giving you a preview, so we know nothing to vote on. But see, here's where it was 2 days after it quit raining in the May 2010 flood, and we can kind of zoom down the street. This is the area that he's wanting to change. So all the lots will be fronting on Gresham Lane. He'll have to move the pond back here, but to make the stormwater numbers work, he's going to have to build this long pipe to get it and dump it into the Lane Agri Park pond.
Pump it into the one that's over by the ag.
Yes, sir.
building.
Right. So,
No, thank you.
right. So, just as a preview, and I told him, I said, I wouldn't want you messing up something you're planning in the future. You know, so you need to be very careful and consider that. So don't impact what you might be doing in the future.
I hate to keep coming back, Chairman, but that's not my district, but I've actually have had calls from that area from homeowners about the flooding, and I actually have some family members that live out in that area as well. But it was just about a whole street. Neighbors were calling me. Of course, my family actually gave them my name and number, but that's beside the point.
And that's what I was kind of stressing. This doesn't drain to a creek, river, or stream. It just goes to a little sinkhole, and once that sinkhole starts backing up and pumping water out, it doesn't go anywhere. And so I just stress that they need to be very careful of what they're proposing.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Sorry, but is this I think I said something to you here a while back. Is this the property that was in the county recently, and the county turned it down, and then the city annexed it? They went to the city to see
The city annexed it, same like the public safety buildings. If you want to hook to city sewer, you got to ask for annexation.
Right,
So
okay.
and I'll show you.
That lawsuit, that
This
started
one.
back in the 90s.
This one, the city tried to annex this area. The lawsuit, the neighbors fought it, and they won, and prevented the city from annexing it into to the city. But the developer purchased this big field retention stormwater management area and wants to hook to the city sewer. So, but to make all this work, he's got to dump extra water onto the Lane Agri Park.
Mr. Chairman.
Well, Commissioner Gooch, is that your area?
Well, it used to be my area, and I may be picking it up again, but Mr. Hughes, you know that there were some flooding issues in the past in Gresham Lane. And so I guess my question to you, what do you think this would do to any future flooding issues or possibilities in the Gresham Lane area?
Well, it will, I've reviewed the calculations. It will not impact the existing houses or the proposed houses here. I don't believe it will cause water to overtop into Gresham Lane. The only real impact is that Lane Agri Park pond, because the spillover point, there was a design spillover point under Miranda Lane. Water in this pond on Gresham Lane would build up and then go through this pipe and head down the street. Well, over time, these ditches have silted up, so no water goes towards down Gresham Lane. So what they're proposing to do is to lower that spillover point about 6 feet. From the current elevation of the pipe under Miranda is going to be lowered about 6 feet and continued on this long pipe stormwater network to get. So I don't think it will impact Gresham Lane, to answer your question. I hope it's just going to see more water frequently going to the Lane Agri Park pond.
Thank you.
And you, Commissioner Dodd?
Yeah, thank you. This is in my district. I let you guys speak, and the calls I get are for flooding in this area. Mike, where is Doe? Can you zoom up just a little, please?
Okay.
It's the swell that runs parallel to Gresham, and it dumps out at Clarice's property and on to the dealership.
Oh, okay.
I believe that's a little further west from this area. I'm just curious, David, the complaints I'm getting, and Trey, you're familiar with them, are behind the Honda dealership. Everything along that western side of Honda to the north. I was just curious if y'all's flooding concerns were in that vicinity.
So here's Doe. street right here. This is a long,
That's the one
flat,
that
slow
I'm hearing of.
draining ditch right here. And just to kind of fill you in, there's a couple houses that were built extremely low, heavy rain events. That ditch does not drain out very well, and water backs up into, I think, a garage, maybe
Yeah,
under a
that
house.
garage was built, it's a remodel, built after, some years after. So my question is, and I know we're going to vet this more thoroughly later on. This is not official, we haven't gotten the calculations, but could that pond that's being modified enhance, could it improve any volume of drainage from this area back to the south? I'm just...
No, sir. No, sir. It's kind of
The
going
shed
in
goes the
a
other way.
different direction.
Okay.
Yes, sir. The Gresham Lane pond is going towards, I guess, the northeast, and this is kind of going due north
Okay.
at a different direction.
And the route from the new pond, from the revised pond to Lane Agri Park, is it in county right-of-way in the existing swells and flow lines?
It's all the work is within the city limits. The city
city
annexed
has
Gresham
Gresham?
Lane all
Okay.
the way down, but they're coming to us because it's county property. Lane
Understood.
Agri Park is county property.
So that's where we could have some capacity to vet this, and we have a dog in the hunt and some authority to speak to this.
Yes.
There's some concern on our side, and it's going to have to come back through us with calculations before the subdivision gets approved. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. Right. So to get approval to dump water on somebody else, you have to get a consent to drain or, the approval of the owner. And essentially that's what they're asking is can we send more water to you more often?
And the official request will come with data.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that's what the Conservation Board said. We need more information on how it's going to impact our pond. And that's what we'll see that next month, I guess.
Just guys, initially, it doesn't look like a positive option for us. I'm just sharing that with y'all. It's in my district. It doesn't look positive to add more water to a water-sensitive area, and also a water-sensitive area that we have some conceptual plans to expand our surface use, and a greater volume of water could impact our intended use. So as the commissioner from that district, I just want to share my initial thoughts with y'all.
When it leaves the Conservation Board, whether they approve it or not, where it goes from there?
It comes to here. Yes, sir. And I made the developer's engineer aware of that it needs to come here next. So I was just giving y'all an update while Ben was talking about the Lane Agri Park.
Oh.
On the Lane Agri Park pond, and no, we receive water, some from John Rice Boulevard, and there's a small sinkhole that this pond kind of, when it fills up, it kind of drains into this sinkhole, and that's the only way out.
So who will maintain, you were saying the
yeah,
other
that's what
one
he
got
told me.
clogged? Who will
Yes.
maintain that?
So since it's all within the city limits, it'll be the city's public works department, street department that would maintain that, and it would be a city infrastructure.
But I would say just keep us up to date on it, but
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
okay. Any other questions on the Lang Ag update? What about the archives?
Okay, the archives project is complete. We're waiting on the city codes department to issue the CO, but there's a couple little items that I think they're going to some paint touch up over there. But other than that, that project's complete.
Complete, are we going to set up a open house or anything?
And we haven't talked about an open house. We can, if the committee thinks we need to do that, we can do that. I believe that the sheriff's office is moving all of their files from Laverne, where we are renting space for all their files, and they'll be bringing those up, I believe, Mr. Sandlin next week. All those files will be brought in and cataloged and et cetera and secured, because they are secure files. that the sheriff's office uses.
Mr. Chairman, you speak of that, I was just thinking about they had trailers at the sheriff's department.
That's correct. All those will be emptied as well.
And you mentioned at one time, I don't know if you recall, what we're going to be saving, but what we were paying for those storage in Laverne. I remember it, was it pretty high, or am I wrong?
Yes, sir. It was pretty high. Matter of fact, we had to take time for our deputies to drive to Laverne. They're on the clock and then court, and they would have to transfer us down to get that record for whatever court was coming up. And we were not allowed to go in and get it in this warehouse. They would charge us for their employee to go get it. They'd bring it out to us, and then when we brought it back, they would charge us to take it and file it back, on top of the monthly rent for the space, and it was based on square footage. I don't remember the exact savings on that, but it was pretty hefty what the sheriff's department was having to pay.
Any other questions on the archives? Okay. As soon as the city look at it or whatever, we'll come up with an open house date.
Yeah, I'd say sometime in early fall, September.
Okay. Next, 20 North.
The 20 North building, everybody's moved in. They still like a few items on the punch list. The contractor's still over there working through those. The roof contractor has started, and that roof should be completed they're saying about 2 weeks to complete that.
We were thinking an open house sometime around the same time.
That'll be good.
They'll be doing a final cleanup, I think, this weekend. They have to do it over the weekend, so.
We may want the committee to look at the archives and 20 North when they finish before the open house.
Sure, we can arrange
This is coming
that.
through our committee.
Yes, sir.
Get the first preview of it if it's okay with the committee.
Yes, sir.
Okay, One Stop.
The one-stop building, last Thursday, the PBA interviewed contractors. We sent out 9 invitations, and we only had 2 contractors to respond, Cadell and Rock City, and the PBA interviewed them last Thursday and selected Rock City. They're out of Franklin, and they'll begin working with the architect and the owner to finalize the design and get ready to begin that project.
So, Mr. Chairman, what's the one thing that kind of delayed us to about 30 days was the final ground lease that had to be taken care of with the state of Tennessee, because they're going to be leasing 4,000 square feet for their public safety kiosk to issue driver's license and renewals. They meet once a month. The State Building Commission meets once a month, and we tried to push it and get it on to the June agenda, and it didn't happen. It will be, excuse me, that tube was down my throat yesterday, and they put me under, so it's still a little scratchy. But anyway, we'll be in front of the Building Commission this next month, and I'm sure that once that's approved, then the final architect is worked out with the contractor since that was done. What do you think, Ben? We'll be pushing dirt by, everything is signed off on the city, we're ready to go. We'll be pushing dirt by, what, August?
Possibly.
Yes, sir.
That sounds good.
That sounds good, Annalisa.
I'm looking at her, she's smiling, so I think it's a good deal. Community care update.
Community care update. We talked before about they're trying to fill in those mortar joints on the concrete block walls, and so they came up with an epoxy process that appeared to work pretty well, and that's finished. And so the floors are fixed to begin, and that'll be followed up by the plumbing. The contractor's estimating approximately 6 weeks until completion on that project.
Any questions on community care? Commissioner Cook, I know you made a statement at the last commissioner meeting to get ready on community care. Any questions on community care? Not any other business to come before us this
Thank
evening?
you.
Mr. Chairman, one update since last Thursday night, full commission meeting on the State Farm building. The commission gave me the authority to go ahead and move forward with making the offer to JCM Properties out of Chicago, who owns the building and leases it back to State Farm. The LOI, the letter of intent, is in State Farm's hands at this point because they have to put up $24,500,000, which it buys them out of their lease. Once that's signed off on, then they'll be sending that to us to execute, and probably looking to close sometime in the middle of August. They can do it that fast.
That fast?
Yeah, they're paying about $250,000 a month in rent, and then your utilities on top of that. So, and they've got 14 of these, and they're trying to unload as many as possible.
Thank you for the input. Commissioner Dodd?
Mr. Chairman, I was under the impression that the commission would have an opportunity to see the contract, the contingencies, the due diligence period.
Yes, sir.
Was I incorrect?
I think that was my understanding.
Would see.
We'll bring that back to the middle of August. I guess that'd be our next full commission meeting. Or we can bring it back to the end, to the property management, and go through the committee structure.
But the contract will be observed and voted on by committee, whoever. I'm repeating myself. We're going to see the contract.
Yes, that's correct, and they're going to give us a list of all the property that comes with it, all the business personal property. I think that we added up to about $3 million on top of that.
And we'll have input on contingencies. What is the due diligence aspects of the contract, the duration of due diligence?
Yeah.
Are we in agreement, anybody, that an LOI and a closing in August, I want to see a contract?
Well, the letter of intent basically says that we intend to purchase, but then they'll basically just working out the contingencies at that point in time. If there's anything that you don't like in the contract, or you want, you don't want all the property, or any of the business personal property, all those desks and furniture and paintings and stuff.
You just said an LOI is being reviewed, and if the LOI is accepted, then you could be closing in August.
Yes, sir.
That surprised me. So we will see this before we go to closing. We had one item that something to the effect that we had to confirm COVID money could be used, or things like that.
That's been confirmed. I had that on everybody's desk last week with from the comptroller.
And the motion that came out of the full committee, the full commission the other night, had nothing about the COVID, confirmation of COVID funds, or we will use COVID funds.
Yes, I believe the motion did, that we're using that first tranche of money of the $32 million that we'll be getting. It will come from that.
And it could close before we confirm that the COVID money is approved?
We got notification, I believe, yeah, the email that I sent out to you saying that the money would be here within the next 4 or 5 days.
Yeah, I heard the money was already here too, by the way.
Yes, sir.
So, but the contingencies and due diligence, I just want to be sure do we have the obligation to let a committee or the commission see the contract and the contingencies and the due diligence before we stroke a check?
I don't remember the exact wording of that motion. Who made the motion? I don't remember.
I think Chris Harris.
Chris Harris made the motion.
I believe so, but I've been up here for several years and I've seen a lot of projects come through, but I hadn't ever seen, and Commissioner Gooch has been here also, and I know we're looking at closing and doing all this maybe by August, but all of it's got to come through our attorney.
Yes, sir.
Every bit of it, before we do anything, unless they done changed the rules, and I've been here since '78. Am I right, Commissioner Gooch? I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's one chair missing, or they added 2 chairs. If they took a tree away, or whatever. Everything on this project, I want everybody to hear this, so don't think we're doing anything undercover. Everything on this project is coming through the legal system of our county attorney before we finalize the deal. Am I correct? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other question? Not, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Don't move.
Thank you.